We are back with another episode of the Warm Up, and we are here today with our special guest, Jerry of the Cap Podcast. Jerry, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, Shamika?
I am doing well. So, me and Jerry have actually collaborated before. And so, when I came up with this subject, because I know it's a lot of men who kind of suppress what they're going through, and you were one of the first people that came to mind because because of conversations we've had, I feel that you are an alpha male. I may be right, I may be wrong. Do you feel that
Hmm.
you're an alpha male?
I consider myself an alpha male. Yeah, I would say that an alpha male with compassion and conviction.
What
You
is
know,
that?
um, I mean, I have compassion for folks because I understand that circumstances happen, but then I also have conviction on my faith. So I would say I don't let I do my best not to let ego just because I'm an alpha male because I'm a go getter or I approach things in an aggressive manner to get in the way. Some men who may be deemed an alpha male sometimes let the ego get in the way. And when I was younger, now I did. I'm not going to lie, but now that I'm little older and wiser, I do my best not to let ego get in the way, but I'm still driven. I still want to compete, and I do everything when I do something I leave it all out there on the field, just like when I play football. Just I'm gonna give it my all and let that be that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's 2024. What does the alpha male in 2024 look like? Because you get so many people, male and female, saying I'm an alpha. What does that look like?
Well, I think it gets used a lot of times, kind of taken out of context. You know, being an alpha, when you think of that in general, you think of a leader, and who doesn't want to be a leader? And but you think of someone who takes charge, who takes the initiative, who aggressive when they're pursuing something. That's fine. I think in 2024, like any other year, it's all about a person who has those qualities, but at the same time, like I said before, has compassion and conviction and is humble. You
Hmm.
know, because you got a lot of folks who say they're alpha man or alpha woman, and that other part is not there. The humbleness, it's a lot of ego or arrogance, and oh, I'm this because I achieved this or these many followers, or I'm able to drop this amount of money on whatever, and whatever the case may be, and people feed their egos, and people kind of tend to think like I'm at this level and that's the rest of y'all. So, you know, and hey, there's some people who are like that. But people misconstrue that with being an alpha. You always everything is always popping on your end. And you the shit is always your way or no way. Everyone say, hey, let's follow them. I don't feel that that's being a true alpha male or female, but some people that's their perception of it.
Okay. So we talked a little bit off camera about you growing up with a father that was in the military, that was actually active in your life. How do you feel that shaped your view of manhood?
It played a major part in it. My dad, once I was like I think like 2 or 3, he got discharged. He had an injury and got discharged from the Navy. And then we moved to Florida, and my other siblings were born. But it played a major part because you know I grew up around some kids who didn't have their father around. Um, and like with any parenting, there's no blueprint to being a parent. So my parents were young when they got married. Um, and all I can say is they did the best they could. I'm very fortunate to have both my mother and my father still alive. Um, but yeah, it played a major role, and even later on in life when I end up having my son at a at actually the same age my dad had me. He was 19 when my mother had me, and I was 19 when my son was born. So we kind of got him over that hump because now he's 28, and far as I know, I'm still not a grandfather. So, but yeah, but it played a major part with having having a father in the home. Uh, at least up until my later years in high school before him and my mother divorced. So yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that your trajectory changed once they got a divorce, or do you feel that your father was still actively involved?
Uh, I would say my trajectory changed a little bit because my dad ended up moving away. Now he still stayed in contact with us, but he just wasn't in the same state. Um, and then essentially with me and my siblings, I became the man of the house. In so many words, and so I had to grow up kind of quick. I still, being a student athlete and all that, I still like to do some of the things my friends did, but then it was my mom and my siblings and myself. So, I had a little bit more responsibility than some of my friends. And I think that played a part in me later on when I got off in college. I still had fun and kicked it. But then when I became a father, it was some things that I didn't do because I was like, I gotta get home and see my son, because he didn't ask to be here. So uh, I often used to tell him, "You the reason why I didn't go to Freaknik because I came home to see you. Otherwise, I would have been probably on that little documentary on Hulu because some of my friends went, and I chose to go home and for that break to see my son. You know what I'm saying? But it all worked out because yeah, everything worked out like it should have worked out because ain't no telling, man. So yeah.
Uh, what are some lessons that you learned from your father that you've passed along to your son?
Um, I would just say hard work. Um, just having a determined will to get things done. Um, being meticulous. My dad was real neat, so I'm like that. I'm not a per se just anal neat freak, but I like stuff. I like stuff in order. Uh, I think my son got a little bit of that, not quite as much as I do, but but yeah, just being meticulous, having stuff in order, the will to work for whatever it is that I got to do, whether that means before I've worked at a point in my life, the numerous points in my life, I've worked my main job and had a part time job and a hustle at the same time, and so just that drive to be like whatever's got to get done, even though it's just me, get it done. You know what I'm saying? And then just always try to be forthright with the folks that you care about and that care about you. Like if it's something I'm able to do, I'm gonna do it. If it's something I'm unable to do at that moment, I'll just tell you instead of just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna get to it. If you know that may not be the case, so those are some of the things that I've learned and kind of passed down.
Okay. So with you being someone that people may like, do people, before I get into this question, do you feel like people in your family consider you like the rock or one of the sources of strength?
Um, to a certain degree, because I'm the oldest out of my siblings, so I'm big brother, uncle, nephew, son. About the only title I'm not is a husband. People be asking me about that. They learn to stop asking me about that because that's just, maybe perhaps one day. But they know that that when I set my mind to something, that I got a stubborn drive, a stubborn will to me to be like, okay, I'm about to do this now. You can believe me and support me by believing in me, or you don't have to. That's fine, but I'm still gonna do it. So don't try to talk me out of it.
Hmm.
So I guess in that perspective, that frame of mind, um, they know that I take risks and that trying to take foolish risks, but I take risks and I'm gonna do something that maybe a few others in the family may not necessarily do. Even with me doing the podcast, now I got family members that's younger family members that look up and considering doing one, and just other little things. Me being a book author, got somebody considering writing a book, and they uh, spoke to me about it. So from that aspect, yeah. But so they know that I am definitely my own unique individual. I tell them, I say this, I tell people this: being accepted can be a caveat, but being an outcast can be an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you may be the caveat. Sometimes you may be the anomaly. Regardless of who, family or anybody who accepts you or don't accept you, you got to authentically be you. So that's what
Okay.
God put in you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever, by being a rock or people considering you a rock, do you feel like sometimes, and not just in family, that people dump on you and don't consider what you may be going through personally? Or have there been times in your life where you feel that you have to be the strong one?
Um, the first thing you said, it's been moments where not necessarily just family, but I mean, I've had friends who they know I will listen if they got something going on, if they want my opinion. Now they also know that this disclaimer is if you ask me my opinion, that's what you're gonna get, and I'm gonna listen to what you're saying, and I'm gonna come from a unbiased point of view. So if you don't like it, then you ain't gonna always hear what you don't like, but it don't mean that I don't care enough to tell you the truth, or at least from what I see. Um, the other part of that, I mean, it has been times where being that one that's strong, I sometimes have to refill myself up. I have to step back because I have a tendency to keep going or keep pouring, and then if it's not being reciprocated by somebody, then now that I'm a little older, I realize like, whoa, because it can cause you to unconsciously get upset, be bitter, or of all of that, because you like, well, damn, what about me? You know,
For
and that's
real.
not trying to be selfish.
No, but
You
for
like, yeah,
real.
because you like, I'm pouring, but it's just, and that's not only family, friends. Uh, hell, before when I was in a relationship, like, whoa, okay. And then folks like, well, I don't understand what well, because ain't no water coming out that well. You
Hold on,
been
let's
mm,
slow it down because we're not gonna bypass the fact we talked about in a relationship. But you kind of said a lot without saying anything. So when you say "whoa," what does that mean? Can you go into more detail about when the person says "whoa"? What do you mean "whoa"? Like,
yeah. When I was saying whoa, meaning that like when if I feel like I'm not that's not being reciprocated to me back, then now that I'm older and a little wiser, I'll be like, whoa, let me step back. And sometimes that can be misconstrued as, oh, so if are you being selfish, or you just ain't trying to hear nothing if ain't your way, and that's not always the case. That's not the case. At least I can only speak in my book. Now, once upon a time, probably was when I was younger, probably was a little bit, but at this point, no. It's about if I keep allowing all of that to keep going on, and it's not reciprocated back to me, understanding all the other things that I try to pour into somebody else. Human nature says, "Because we still in this flesh," that you're gonna be like, "What? Hell no. Okay, no. Yeah, I'm stopping this because that's just. I mean, I don't care. I don't care how big a quote a Christian you are or whatever you supposed to be that everyone see you as. You're still a human being, and you still have feelings, and you still things that you don't like and do like, and all of that. So people have to realize like that go hand in hand. And sometimes it's not that everyone try to do something consciously. Some people unconsciously be like, oh, I didn't realize. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was just. And some people do that because they figure like you're gonna continue to be okay with it until you stop it. So I think people just have to, no matter whether it's family, friends, significant other, of course, that's where boundaries come in at. And if someone has a problem with that, then that's on them. No, regardless of who they are, family, friends, or otherwise. Because if you don't, you're gonna eventually find yourself angry, pissed off, and then you're gonna say something that you can't take back. And it ain't gonna mean that you didn't mean it. Because folks be like, well, I didn't mean it. Yeah, you meant it. You just didn't want to. Didn't want to say it out loud, but you meant it because the word says abundance of the heart flows out of the mouth. So that's why I tell people, watch what you say. Like if you know that you upset or angry, just step back, take a break before you say something that you can't. Because all the sorries in the world, you can't pull back what you said. So I've gotten better at that. Because when I was younger, man, I'll let you have it. You be like, you was just so nice and sweet, but I'll let you have it after. Because I'm like, how long are you gonna keep poking the bear? How long you gonna think you're gonna be able to keep taking advantage of me or disregarding me or whatever the case is? No. So my tolerance for that is like, it's the older I've gotten, the less tolerance I've had for that. And I still show compassion, I still show understanding, but we're not gonna be foolish over here. Team Davis is not gonna be foolish now. After a while, I'm gonna be like, you know, we're gonna have a hard conversation on why you feel it's okay to continue to do this and how long you think I'm gonna overlook that or ignore that. Because I may ignore it for a moment, but if it keeps on, I'm gonna have to address it. And once I address it, it's addressed.
What you mean by this, Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, once I address whatever it is, whatever the conflict or whatever it may be that's going on, I'm gonna say it unfiltered. I'm not gonna be do my best not to be rude or anything like that with it, but I'm gonna let it be known, like, hey, I'm gonna come like a DA or a prosecutor. I'm gonna come with all the facts, da 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 da, right there, right there, right there, and present the case and be like, so what's gonna happen here? Are you gonna change this, or do we need to just, or am I gonna have to fall back? You know, I may literally say that, or I may figuratively have that point across, but you're gonna know and you're gonna understand. Because when I fall back, then you understand. Like it don't mean that I don't care about you, I don't love you or whatnot, but I'm not gonna deal with that because yeah, because if you like I said, if you don't, people consciously and some unconsciously will continue doing things, and I think a lot of people allow that to happen. Then they become bitter, and now what I'm saying, it makes it hard to reconcile or whatever. And so sometimes you have to fall back if folks keep doing it. And it doesn't matter if it's family, friends, significant other, whoever. You got to have that hard conversation with them. And I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not for to beg nobody or run behind somebody in order for that to happen. Like I'd be like, hey, we need to talk. Let's talk. If you're so busy, you never had the time for it. Then I'd be like, okay. That's just where I'm at in life now. I mean, because you can't make anyone do anything, and I think a lot of people have an issue with that. They try to make folks do what they want to do right now on their time, and that's not how life works. And also you got to present it in a way where you're speaking. I put it like this: if you love me or care about me, you'll talk to me and not about me. Once you start talking about me, you're not talking to me. Nah, I'm not feeling that. Because the same energy you have to talk about me to whoever, good or bad, you could talk to me, especially if it's bad. If it's good, that's I have no problem with that. But I'm talking about if it's something that you have an issue with and you can talk to somebody else, but you can't talk to me. That I have a To me that's like, who does that? You're grown. I don't care what the age difference is. You're grown. That's childish stuff. So so if you care about me, you'll talk to me with the same energy you would if you're talking about me. And there's no excuses for that. I ain't buying none of them. I'm buying none of them. So That's where I stand with that, man. And some people get with it. Some folks be like, well, and that's your prerogative, like Bobby Brown. It's your prerogative. If you can't deal with that, Tyrone, Devontae, and all them other Negroes out there,
Devontae.
they would sell you that bullshit if that's what you want to do.
Question. So we speak on strength. So what is the difference between speaking with conviction and passion versus speaking with anger? Because sometimes you may just be passionate and conviction. It may be conviction in your voice, and then people are like, "Why are you yelling at me?" When it's they confuse the passion with aggression and anger when it's not. So what's the difference?
Okay, well, in my definition, the difference of that is when you're speaking with passion and conviction. Um, your tone, to me, your tone is going to be more uplifting and more speaking to someone, like speaking to someone. As opposed when you're angry, your tone is going to be rigid, it's going to be rough, and you're going to be pretty much speaking at someone. That makes sense. And a lot of people do that. Like, it's one thing if I'm talking to you, I'm having a conversation talking to you, and I'm like, hey, and I'm saying something to inspire or motivate you. But there's another thing when I'm accusing you, I'm pretty much talking at you. You know what you did, right? You gotta, so I think that's the difference. And somebody voice may, they may when they being passionate about something, it may go up an octave or whatnot, but you understand that they're speaking to you as opposed to speaking at you, because that's two totally different things. The energy within itself is, you'll notice that when someone is speaking at you, because their tone is, no, because you did this, and everything is talking is pointing, kind of like pointing, even whether they pointing with their actual finger or not. It's that type of energy that's going on, and I think most folks can decipher that. And if someone's trying to disguise it, if you have any level of discernment, you able to pick up if someone is, you know, speaking with passion and conviction about something, or even if it's about you or about whatever it is, as opposed to speaking out of anger. Because like we speak out of anger, the most flattering things are not coming out. If we're angry about a situation, we're talking how bad that situation has pissed us off. If we're talking about an individual, we're talking about what she or he hasn't done and how they pissed you off. So I just think that speaks for within itself, the difference in energy and talking to someone as opposed to talking at somebody.
Hmm. Okay, strong men. Do you feel like you guys are the majority or the minority? And if so, why?
Um, I guess that's a that could be a double entendre. I guess it depends on how you look at it and where you're at. There's strong men that are in every facet of being a man, like mentally, physically, spiritually. You know, some already established financially or getting themselves established financially. Um, and I think that there's a totality with that, with being a strong man, as opposed to someone who feels like their strength comes from only their finances or their influence over people, whether it be social media or whether it be out in the actual community, and they lean with that. But then on the flip side of that, they don't have a whole lot of compassion. They selfish. So sometimes you gotta ask yourself, is that really strength? You know. Um, but I think nowadays, I wouldn't say that it's a minority, uh, or what I say is in a majority. I think that it's becoming, um, it's shrinking some, because a lot of people, if you're a truly strong man, you won't be a selfish man, like totally. Now, we all have some level of selfishness, which is okay because with some things you should be selfish with. Selfish about your peace, selfish about it's certain things, but when the majority of you is selfish, I don't look at that as strength. I don't care how successful you are, how much money you make, who you're dating or whatever you got going on. I don't see that as being strength. And a lot of young guys tend to look up to guys who operate out of that masculine or perceived masculinity of being strong, and it's a facade. It's not a real example of being a strong man, being strength. Because to me, it's being physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, as well as financially strong. And one area may be a little weaker than the other, but you're working on that. But it's not just I'm strong when it comes to just this or that and nothing else, and everything is about me. No, because to me, the foundation, if you're not spiritually strong, you're going to be basically carnal, and everything is going to be carnal in how you operate. Like, you'll see only a woman for her body and not for her heart as well as that. You're going to see that. We all going to notice that, no doubt. But you want to look beyond just that. But if you just carnally strong, everything is about the optics.
Hmm.
What can you do for me? How you gonna look with me? Because I'm perceived in this way by everybody. And I think so. I think that is something that happens real heavily nowadays in our culture and dealing with a lot of folks look at. And it don't matter if they're celebrities or just local people around the city. There's a perceived notion of strength off optics or material things, and there's nothing wrong with having that. I don't knock nobody for having something nice, but if that defines you and then you feel like you're strong, then I think you need to check yourself.
Okay. Convictions. How do you, because you talked about a changing world. The world is definitely changing. And, you talked about mental strength. How do you stay mentally strong in a world that really tests your convictions as a man?
And a whole lot of prayer and reflecting on how I've overcome other obstacles. So having that, how you hear people say people get selective amnesia, like they forget what in a sense, some people say that when you forget what someone else done for you. Well, I look at that as well as in the aspect of perspective of not forgetting what God has done for you in the past. And it can be hard sometimes. It's not hard that you don't remember what he's done for you, but in the moment that you're going through something, and especially if it's just you don't have that partner, that spouse or somebody or whatnot. And I only can speak from a single man's perspective. Um, you feel like it's all on you. You got to make this executive decision. You've done it before, so it's no big deal. But I think as the older and more wiser that you get, you begin to realize, like, okay, let me. I'm Clark Kent. Clark Kent
Mm-hmm.
was Superman, but I'm Clark Kent. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people put on the facade that I'm Superman, so I'm gonna handle everything. And I ain't gonna lie, I've been guilty of that before on numerous occasions, and I've gotten better with it. So I think that a lot of prayer, reflection on things that you've overcome in the past will help you deal with what you're dealing with now and what's to come down the road. Because if you don't, every time an obstacle come about, you know, you're gonna your emotions are gonna start running rapid, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, whatever the case may be. So that's how I see that.
Mm-hmm. And what advice, let's say somebody said, because a lot of people won't or are ashamed to express I'm not where I need to be mentally or spiritually, emotionally, whatever the case may be. Especially like, we as women, we're given outlets where we are able to express those things without anybody shaming us. What advice would you have for men who say, I'm not where I need to be mentally, spiritually, or emotionally, but I'm afraid to open up to other people in fear that I'm going to be judged for coming off as weak?
I would just tell that brother or that man that, man, it's okay. You're human as well. Um, and you gotta realize that vulnerability is strength, because it takes a lot to be vulnerable, to acknowledge that, and then, you know, trust in the Most High and go about your business of trying to better yourself. But to not do that because of fear of what other folks think, then you're gonna live a life where you'll never have peace, because folks gonna always think what they want, and you shouldn't give zero fucks about what anybody think of you. At this point, if it's somebody younger, I kind of get it. At the same time, I don't, but I kind of get it because they're still influenced about what being accepted by what folks think and their perception. But as you get older, your 30s and your 40s and beyond, like for real, like them folks ain't doing nothing for you. Um, to what they to be concerned with what someone else thinks. They going on about their life on what they're doing, and you worry about what they're going to think of you, and you're suffering. That's not a good place to be. So mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, uh, you know, you have to understand that it's better for me to to look forward and look over that. Look, don't look past the forest for the trees, man. Don't get too caught up with what's the image or the perception of others, but trust in the Most High, trust in God, um, really trust in Him, pray, really pray, and reflect on the other obstacles you've had in your life and how you have overcome them. That's almost like muscle memory when going to the gym. Like, as guys, some of us who do work out, which I gotta get back on my regiment. I've taken a longer break than I intended due to some other things. But when I'm back in the gym, anything that I work out on, muscle memory kicks in. Well, that should be with your spirituality and your mentality and your emotions kick in with your muscle memory on how you overcame whatever it was before. And even though this may be a little different or another circumstance, knowing that, okay, that you can do that, but not saying anything, not showing vulnerability, that's not strength, and that's not perceived weakness. To do that, if folks perceive that as that, that's on them once again. But I think we've been conditioned, especially in our community, to think this nonsense, and the same folks who try to put that on folks be the same folks that want to say, well, you know, God bless you and all that. Well, God has nothing to do with that crap that you're trying to make someone feel like, and God has nothing to do with if you're thinking like that, because He's not a God of confusion. So I would just tell a man to, like, don't stress over stuff. Keep electric company and stay off Stressing Me Street. That's the brain drop I've said before. And for those who from my generation that grew up know there was two shows, Electric Company, Sesame Street. Well, I just said keep electric company, meaning keep people who's a vibe and who's going to uplift you and really care about you, not trying to get something from you, but get something to you, impart into you, and stay off Stressing Me Street. I don't care how fine she is or how fine he may be for whoever the lady is or whatnot, man. If folks are causing stress, no, because the more you're around that, misery loves company. We heard that saying, but that's not gonna help your mental, and it's gonna make you feel like you gotta, you got to put on this facade for folks who really don't care about you. Because the folks who really care about you are gonna want you to get help. They're gonna want your best interest at heart. So that's advice I would tell any brother, any man. Like, hey, vulnerability is not perceived weakness. It's actually a strength because it shows that you are you are a diverse man. You know how to show compassion. You know how to feel, to understand. And there's no woman that wouldn't want a man that knows how to feel and understand, show empathy, show compassion. She's gonna perceive that as a strength because so many other folks like to act like, oh, it don't bother me. It's all good. It's whatever. And at some point, you gotta take that mask off, man.
Mhm.
Because yeah, you touch that hot stove or someone cut you, your ass is gonna bleed, or you gonna do like that. So stop acting like everything is like it don't bother me. I'm no, with that them days of trying to fake the front like that has been way over. But some people like to keep that pressure on themselves, and it ain't worth it for me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? At all.
Mhm. How can the people get in contact with you, Jerry?
They can get in contact with me one of three ways. First of all, I need them to check out my podcast with my co-host Erica Jackson at the Cap Podcast. We're on YouTube. We're on all the streaming services: YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, um, Apple Podcasts. I'm on Instagram at Life Coach Jerry Davis, as well as Facebook Life Coach Jerry Davis. Um, and also Linktree forward slash dot Linktree Jerry Davis, where they can book me to come speak um, at any event, be on any panel. Um, yeah, and I got some other things that I'm working on another book because it's been some years. Last time I came out with my last book was 2019, and I supposed to have a book out sooner than that, but life happens and I've been pushing it back. But after the events that have taken place towards the end of the summer, I realized like, nah, I can't wait any longer. So prayerfully and hopefully in 2025, I will have my third book out, which has nothing to do with my first two books. Those first two books, Five Dimensions of a Man, Five Dimensions of a Man Reloaded, were non-fictions, like a self-help book. But this other book is gonna be a fictitious account of two fellas. So it's like two short stories in one, and
Mhm.
I'm eager for that because it'll be my first time writing a fiction type story, but that folks can relate to from a male perspective of how they deal with challenges in their life. So also combination of all my brain drops. Yeah, I'm gonna have a compilation of all my brain drops in the book. So like, that's I'm looking forward to both of those things coming in the new year.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you for joining the show. Say bye to the people.
Goodbye everybody. Thank you for having me, Shamika.